was just a month into my freshman year at college, and I never in a million years would have guessed that the night I was pinned against the bleachers of the school football field by bullies was the night that would change my life forever. Well, Sydney, you have two choices. You can kiss my shoe or lose your hair. I have a rule that I never kiss cheap shoes. Now get away from me. Oh, look, she's gonna cry. I have a lot of practice holding in my tears, and these bimbo bullies weren't gonna break me. Hair grows back. I guess you've made your choice then. After they threw me to the ground, I prepared myself for what was coming, but a voice boomed from behind them.
What the hell do you think you're doing? Leave her alone.
The girls turned around and sprinted away. The person walking toward me was silhouetted by the field's lights, so I couldn't see him. When he got close and helped me up, I saw who it was, and my jaw nearly fell off my face.
Are you okay? Did they hurt you?
It was Ian Gallagher, the son of the president. He also just started at my school and was the image of perfection. Flowing blonde hair, a chiseled jaw, and deep green eyes. Other than my pride? No, but there wasn't much of that to begin with, so I'm good. Thank you.
Maybe you and Sydney should go get some food, Ian.
Who was this guy, and how did he know my name?
Yes, absolutely. Are you hungry? Joe Jr.'s Diner is just up the street. I'm Todd, Ian's assistant. Our driver will be happy to take you and then bring you back to your dorm room afterward. Right, Ian? Yeah, absolutely. Please stop saying absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, right.
I wasn't sure what was happening here, but whatever it was really frickin' weird.
Okay then, shall we go so you two can eat and get acquainted?
Can you two hold on for just a minute? I need to pause this here. As you already guessed, my name is Sydney, and it would be awesome if you clicked like and subscribe. And while you do that, I'm gonna fill you in on some quick backstory. I grew up in a huge house with everything a girl could want. Giant stuffed animals, so much chocolate that Willy Wonka would be envious, and an arcade packed with every video game that ever existed. There was only one thing missing: my parents. Sure, I had an amazing nanny who hated children and would lock me in my room when she wanted to be left alone. But all I wanted was to spend time with my mom and dad. They ran an international hotel business and traveled the world visiting their properties. Even when they were home, all they would do was criticize me and compare me to others, like my spoiled brat of a cousin who screamed whenever she didn't get what she wanted, or their friend's daughter who was forced to perform at the most ridiculous beauty pageants, or even the little girl on the cereal commercial who ate the cereal, acting like it was the best thing ever.
That little girl appreciates her life. I've never seen you enjoy your cereal that much, Sydney.
I felt so bad about myself that I developed this nervous facial tic where I would squeeze my eyes shut and then open them really wide. Yeah, weird facial tics are like catnip for bullies at school. And when you're the smartest kid in class, it just adds to their joy when they stuff you in the garbage can. So I kept to myself and didn't care about my appearance because there was no point. No makeup, big glasses, and my hair in a bun. I looked like a mini version of the school librarian. Okay, I did have one friend, Monty. We were friends since kindergarten because he was as awkward as me. He was also really smart and had asthma, so he was always walking around sucking on his inhaler. Also catnip for bullies. Okay, that's enough backstory. I think you get it. I thought college would be better, but clearly I was mistaken. Once an outcast, always an outcast, it seems. Now, back to the night I met Ian, because it just gets weirder from here. He took me to the diner, but our table was guarded by his two big, serious-looking Secret Service agents. His tiny assistant, Todd, sat in the booth across from us, just staring.
Sorry about all this. It must be really weird for you, Sydney.
This? Weird? Nah, I'm used to it. Happens every time I meet a president's son. He laughed. Someone actually thought I was funny besides me. And then he leaned in.
Just imagine that your whole life is like this. It was manageable when I was a minor because the media left me alone. But now that I'm 18 and my father is running for re-election, it's like every move I make is under a microscope. Sometimes I just want to disappear.
In a weird way, I completely understood. I felt the same way, except I always wanted to disappear. Just then, reporters swarmed into the diner and started taking photos of us. Todd signaled for us to smile, so I did, but I had absolutely no idea what was happening.
Okay, that's enough. Everybody out.
Why do they want pictures of me with the president's son? My own parents didn't want pictures of me.
I think it's time you head back to your apartment, Ian. If it's okay with Sydney, I'd like to stay and chat some more.
Considering all the insanity of the last couple of hours, the one thing that didn't feel completely nuts was the connection I had with Ian. It's like we instantly got along. I'd like that.
Yeah, no. Sorry, we're leaving. Car's waiting outside to take Sydney home, so it's time to say goodnight.
I couldn't believe how Ian's assistant was treating him like a child. And then I felt something touch my hand underneath the table. Ian slipped me a piece of paper with his cell number. But then, Tiny Todd stuck his face in mine.
Listen to me carefully, Sydney. Under no circumstances are you to try and make any contact with Ian unless you check with me first. Is that clear?
Sure.
Good girl. And if he or the press tries to talk to you, you call me.
Wow, this little man just good-girled me. Yeah, no. Maybe I won't feel like it.
Well then, I'll make a single phone call and have you expelled, which I will also do if Ian learns about this conversation. So we're gonna keep this between you and me, right?
I was frozen. If I got expelled, my parents would disown me. All I wanted to do at that moment was to wrap my fingers around Todd's throat and choke him. But instead, I just nodded. When I got back to my dorm room, the first thing I did was call Monty. Yeah, we both applied to and got into the exact same colleges. And then, like the weirdos that we are, we chose to go together.
That's crazy. So you hit it off with Ian Gallagher, like for real?
I wouldn't say we hit it off, but I feel like we kind of get each other.
You mean like you and me?
Yeah, but the difference is, he's the president's son. But why me?
Because you're amazing, Sydney. You're like the smartest person I know. You're funny, you're
not deserving of Ian's attention, that's for sure.
That's not true. You're deserving of anyone's attention.
You're just saying that because you're my best friend. I want to call him, but I'm scared his tiny jerk assistant will find out and get me expelled.
So don't let him find out.
I stared at the number on the piece of paper for like an hour before I got the courage to call Ian. And then, late that night, he snuck out of his apartment and picked me up.
I am so glad you called. Now hold on to me.
They let you have a motorcycle?
Nope, they have no idea.
And then we sped down the road, and it was thrilling. I actually had to pinch myself to believe that I wasn't dreaming. We raced up to a narrow, twisting road to a spot that looked out over the city below. Wow, this view!
I found this spot when I first got to school. I needed a secret place to get away from everything. My dad, his re-election campaign, Todd.
He was so sincere. When he looked into my eyes, I thought I would melt into a big puddle. He's such a jerk.
He really is.
Why do you let him treat you like that? Why don't you just fire him?
I wish I could. My dad hired him to manage me, and now you're in it too. I'm so sorry.
What do you mean I'm in it too? He then handed me a copy of the morning newspaper. On the front page was a photo of Ian and me at the diner with the headline, Ian Gallagher's new college girlfriend? I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
If you never want to see me again, I totally understand. This is my life, but it doesn't have to be yours.
I had spent my whole life avoiding attention, and here I was, about to be on the front page. My instinct was to run away as fast as I could, but Ian needed someone, and for some reason, that someone was me. We just sat on a rock and talked and laughed for hours, but as the sun came up, Ian looked at his watch and panicked.
Oh no, they're gonna be looking for me. We have to go, now.
We sped down the road, but suddenly there were flashing lights behind us. It was the police. At that moment, I knew I was gonna get expelled. My life was officially over. But instead of being pulled over, Ian floored it. We raced down the road away from the police car. Forget about being expelled, I was going to jail. Ian pulled behind a tree and shut off the motorcycle lights. We watched as the police car sped by. My heart was racing, but Ian looked at me, and we both just burst out laughing. The next day, when the papers came out, I walked through campus, and everyone at school was just staring, including the 3 bullies. All I could do was smile. For the first time ever, I cared about how I looked. Monty went with me to get a prescription for contact lenses, then to the salon to get my hair done, and finally to Sephora to get a makeover.
Listen, Sid, something feels off about this whole thing with Ian.
Wow, is somebody getting jealous because someone else is taking up my attention for once?
No, that's not it at all. You said it yourself. Why did Todd know your name?
But I wasn't listening. All I could think about was seeing Ian again, and then the cosmetologist turned my chair around. So, how do I look? That bad, huh?
You're beautiful.
I hugged him as hard as I could. I don't know what I would have done without him all these years. For the next few months, Ian and I snuck out nearly every night and went on crazy adventures. We went to a closed amusement park and turned on one of the rides, did a Ouija board in an abandoned house, and went for a midnight swim in the park fountain. During the day, I struggled to stay awake in class and my grades went down, but I didn't care. I was falling in love. I was so caught up in Ian that I barely ever saw Monty anymore. I didn't even care that Todd kept posing us for the press. Until one day, when things took a dark turn, Todd had Ian and I meet.
Well, look at you two lovebirds. It just warms my heart.
I didn't know you had one of those, Todd. Every day there's a new surprise. Ian tried to contain his laughter, but Todd was not amused.
When the press gets here, Ian, I want you to kiss Sydney.
Ian and I hadn't kissed yet, which I thought was strange, but I felt like he was just taking it slow. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Monty sitting alone on a bench eating his lunch.
Is that necessary, Todd? Of course it's necessary, Ian. And I want you to kiss her like you mean it. Understand?
What the heck was that supposed to mean? Why wouldn't he mean it? And like clockwork, Ian's bodyguards ushered a dozen reporters over to us. But Ian looked so uncomfortable. He gave me the most awkward, quick kiss. Now, I'm no kissing expert, but I would have to say it was pretty terrible. I looked over and Monty was gone. Ian and I got to the back seat of his limo. Todd got into the front and just exploded.
What the hell was that? I'm sorry, Todd. I'll do better. For your father's sake, you better.
For your father's sake? What does that mean, Ian?
What does it matter to you, Sydney? You're not bullied anymore. People admire you, which I'm guessing is a first. So be a good girl and keep your mouth shut. Hey, don't talk to her like that. Or what, Ian? You gonna fire me?
I was waiting for Ian to defend me, but he just went quiet. When I opened the door to my dorm room, Monty was waiting. I had given him his own key at the start of the year. I was so happy to see him. Monty! But that happiness didn't last long.
You're being played, Sid.
Played? Oh, stop it, Monty.
You and Ian? It's a setup because his father is running for re-election, and Todd was hired to craft his image for the public.
You're just jealous because I fell in love and I'm spending my time with someone else. And then, Monty held up a printed photo of Ian embracing another boy.
I did some digging, and this was Ian's high school boyfriend.
Boyfriend? You're saying that Ian is...
Yes, I'm so sorry, Sid. And they're using you to give off the image that he's straight, so it doesn't affect his father's re-election campaign.
Wow, Monty, you are pathetic. I was a loser until I met Ian, and you're just upset that you're still one. I can't believe I was ever friends with you. Now get out. Monty looked like I just slapped him as I slammed the door in his face. That night, when Ian picked me up, I told him I wanted to go to our spot on the cliff overlooking the city.
I'm so sorry about today, Sydney. The pressure to perform in front of the camera just...
Before he could finish, I held up the photo. Have you been lying to me, Ian?
Where did you get that?
Who cares where I got it? This is the reason why you've never kissed me, isn't it?
Todd says if the world finds out about this, my father will lose.
I was furious at myself. Monty tried to warn me, but I didn't listen. And now I've probably lost him forever. But it all suddenly made sense. Right. Choose a girl with low self-esteem who wouldn't question what was happening, who would be so thrilled with the attention that she would just go with it. And these adventures at night, were they part of it?
Not at first, but the police officer that first night ID'd me, and Todd thought it was a great idea to keep them going. He threatened to tell my dad if I told you. I'm so sorry, Sydney. I never wanted to hurt you.
Your dad doesn't know about you?
No, that was the only photo ever taken of my boyfriend and me in high school, and Todd found it too.
Goodbye, Ian.
Sydney, you need to see this through until the election. My dad is coming to campus tomorrow, and if you're not there, Todd will have you expelled.
Doesn't matter. I'm dropping out anyway. I'm done. Ian dropped me off in front of my dorm, and I turned to him one last time. If you want to live your life trying to be someone you're not just to prove yourself, it will crush you. Trust me. The next morning, my face was puffy from crying. I loaded up my car with all my stuff and was preparing to head home, back to a life where I wasn't worth anything, back to face the judgment of my parents who already thought so little of me. I got into the car and tried to close the door, but it didn't budge. Monty was standing there holding it. "What are you doing here?"
Stopping you from making a huge mistake?
"Didn't you already try that?"
Yeah, well, that's what best friends do, right?
And then I just lost it. "I am so sorry. I was such a huge jerk. Why do you even want to talk to me after those horrible things I said? I don't deserve you."
Because I love you, Sid. I always have. Why do you think I chose this school? It was to be with you.
And then he kissed me with a passion that I had never experienced before. My body felt like it was plugged into an electrical outlet.
The president's about to speak. Shall we go watch?
Why would I want to watch? And so we went to the football stadium, where Ian was standing on the stage next to his father. Todd was standing behind them.
And as I stand on the cusp of the next presidential election, I want to hand the mic over to my son Ian, who means more to me than anything in the world. During my dad's first election, nobody paid attention to me because I was only 14 years old. But now that the world is paying attention, I want them to meet my true love.
And suddenly, the boy from the photo walked onto the stage. The whole stadium burst out into applause. It was incredible. And then Ian turned and hugged his father. Todd looked horrified. After the speech ended, the Secret Service let Monty and me backstage, just in time for Todd to walk out.
I hope you enjoyed your time here, Sydney, because you're as good as expelled. Nah, but you're as good as fired, Todd.
Ian walked over, and for the first time, Todd looked terrified.
You can't fire me, but I can. Mr. President, I was only doing this for you. Who told you to do that? You harassed my son for years and misused the power I gave you. Get him out of here.
And the Secret Service dragged him away, kicking and screaming. It was glorious. I forgave Ian, and 4 years later, he and his boyfriend became the best men at Monty's and my wedding, at the White House. My parents were there, glowing with pride, but winning their approval didn't matter to me anymore. I was happy that at least they were there. And finally, I was just happy being me.